Greetings from mates all here, IMO, Big Pharma. Big Pharma is largely a management puzzle game with some strategy elements. It was released by Twice Circled on 27th of August 2015. Hello, I'm the Lord Bones, and this is Big Pharma. It popped up on Steam on the 27th, and I thought I'd have a go, and I've basically been playing it all week. So I have done about 13 hours worth of play, minus the 2 hours or so I've been playing trying to do this sort of review. I think I know a way to show you this game. Now, from the background, it counts like a strategy game, but really it's a little more of a puzzle management game is what I personally would call this genre. And there's going to be a little bit of difficulty showing you this because it's quite complicated, but I'm going to have a go. So firstly, this is a PC application, so we're going to go in the options menu. Game settings are pretty standard, language, currency symbol, this is all normal stuff for a strategy sort of management game, and even has stuff to do with the paintings and things. Controls fully rebindable, very, very nice, even down to the scroll sensitivity from the end when you put your mouse at the end. You've got windowed and full screen. Full screen is pretty much borderless full screen, by the way. And you've got your resolution there. Resolution, I think it goes above 920, but I'm not entirely certain because my screen only goes that big. Separate audio sliders, perfect. By the way, one thing to keep in mind is that you can actually make the game continue when you're not actually clicked onto it, so it looks more like borderless full screen. I do like these separate audio slides, by the way. You're going to want to turn the announcer down a little bit, by the way, as well, because she is really loud. Good options menu, personally. Okay, so what exactly am I calling complete at this point? I'm calling complete. I spent about 11 hours on these three challenges up here, and that's because the game takes a while to play. And what I did essentially is I went through all these here and then I went back to try to get a higher score, because essentially there are three different scores you can get: beginner, expert and master. On the bottom line one I tried to get expert and I got it. I did try to get master, that one there, it was quite difficult to get master and I just gave up after the first attempt. I think I probably could go back and do master on that one there. And the second one, I kind of fudged it. Essentially this one here is to create 300 appetite suppressants within 8 years. If you do it within 2 years, you're then a master. And I basically kind of fudged it on my second attempt just by getting a bunch of loans and just turning my entire factory into appetite suppressant makers. So that company was probably going to go bust maybe 2 months after I actually hit it, because I only just about got it. But it worked. And this one over here is 150,000 over a 12-month period. I got the beginner one fairly easily over the course of the 9 years, but it was quite far along I got it. I have tried to get the master one, which is 1 million, and it is difficult. I just can't seem to do it. I've tried 3 times on it, and I don't know how to necessarily do it. The only difference with all these here is just they get harder and harder and harder as you go along, and there are, in case of some of the intermediate ones here, much more things you have to actually fulfill, more objectives you have to fulfill. You have to supply 4 products, treating 2 different levels of cure, 3 products, 2 different cure, so on and so forth, and get all them there within the 13 years. And then the end ones here have everything unlocked, and you are sort of just having to beat the game essentially. But there also are custom games where you can customize your settings. Very nice. It's very fulfilled as well, this menu is here, to be honest with you. So this here is the ingredients of the forest, the desert, the Arctic or the ocean. You can see how you can make a scenario in which you have a starting loan from the beginning, so you've got to sort of get yourself out of debt and all that kind of stuff. And you can import these and export these. So this probably we with the modding scene. And then there's free build, which is everything unlocked. Now there is a modding tab here, and apparently you can make new cures and things, so hopefully this game should have a bit more longevity. Now I'm going to show you this game by loading up my cancer attempts right here in a free build. Now, the reason why I loaded straight into the really complicated one is to show you how complicated this game actually is. Now this entire thing here is my cancer failure attempt, believe it or not. My first attempt at trying to do this. Now, we're going to go over to the one I successfully did over here. So, first thing I do is I import something that treats diabetes. And you see there, it says pre-requirements, and has concentration and a machine to use. This is the aim of the entire game, is to upgrade continually and continually. So firstly, why did I import treat diabetes into the warehouse, and how did they even do that? Well, I'm on the production tab over here, which is your warehouse. We hop over into ingredients. I basically clicked on, where is treats diabetes on here? Antidepressant, removes warts, painkiller. I clicked on treats diabetes status and imported it into that slot. Now these here won't always be unlocked. You have to hire explorers to actually research them. And they come from either the forest, Arctic, ocean, places like that, and desert, I think is the fourth one, which is the second one along. So you do get to desert quite quickly on this, from all those different locations, and those locations have to be researched themselves. But basically, you get explorers, they find the ingredients, and those explorers also get you tokens, which basically can allow you to import things cheaper. So if these are idle, like if I hire some here, you notice that a bar goes up. Any idle explorer will earn your tokens, so you can make the products, to supply the products cheaper from the location, essentially. It's fairly simple, and you probably need to import multiple different items in order to make these more complicated drugs, because on these here, we have green things and we have red things. Red things are, for example, induces nightmares. It's a side effect, and the green things are things that you want, the cures. And these here are quite basic ones, and down here they have ones that have different symbols next to them. I gather this here is sort of molecular structures, and you'll want to import these and merge these drugs together, but we're going to get it later on. But generally, the things that you merge together, by the way, all are side effects, like cause dizziness, causes memory loss. So, what did I do when I first went onto here, and why did I choose treats diabetes? Well, I wanted to make a cancer vaccine, and this here just lays out all of the actual cures out in a very nice little structure. See, treats diabetes, cures hypothyroidism, fights cancer, multiple sclerosis, and then the cancer vaccine at the bottom there. And I chose diabetes because I wanted to make a cancer vaccine. So it just tells you very simply, and also can tell you some statistics as well about how much money you're making from all these different things. And this one over here is the only one that's going to be even moving because I'm only just making this. Net demand is 94% for the cancer vaccine. Unfortunately, it's not very good, but we'll get into that later on, the cancer vaccine I've made. Now there is research. In the beginning you only have these two machines here, which basically just improve and decrease the concentration, and you have to then research by hiring up researchers, like so, and sticking them on this. Now I've unlocked everything, because this is just a mode so I can show you how things work, but the research thing, and it takes a couple of months. One thing I don't really like, or kind of keep in mind, is the fact that these here take a long time. These here take a long time to be able to research. It takes, I think, 5 months to research advanced processing, and 8 months each. I would rather have the ability just to be able to throw more scientists at it, to be able to get this done quicker. Because generally they end up having money, but not the time to waste on these things here. But that's sort of by the by thing. There's a lot of expanse here. There's sort of your tech tree, as it were, in this game. And again, you get tokens, you upgrade things. It means you can process things cheaper. Now, although you pay for the actual item, once you've paid for it, the only time you lose money on it is when you use it, when the drugs go in and you actually use the item. So I'm just going to fire these seconds. Ingredients, because I notice at the bottom here it tells me the amount of money I've got, which is limited because I'm in free build, and that there's the amount of money that I'm earning down at the bottom. And it's skipping because I am every single 3 moves I'm using one machine, and then every one move I'm then boosting it back up, so soon I'll be on green. Last tab over here is company, which basically just tells you how much profit you're making on it. I'm making $400-ish from this one, and it's not a very good cure, and we'll see why. Okay, so now you know why I want to treat diabetes and where all these machines come from. So, in order to upgrade this, I need to meet the requirements on the left, which is concentration, and use the machine on the right with the ion, which is called the ionizer. Concentration, this little blue thing over here. So in order to be able to do that there, all I did was use this machine here, called a cryogenic condenser, and that doubles the concentration. So now the concentration is on 12, as you can see there. And then I use the ionizer, which then changes that into cures hypothyroidism. Then, in order to upgrade that one, I need to make the condensity I need to make that 2 or 1. So what I did there was I basically just halved the entire thing. So I halved 9, which became 4. It seems to be generally seems to round up or down in situations. It became 4, and then used 2 dissolvers to decrease it even further, because I don't need it to be 4, I need it to be 1 or 2, down to 2. And then I used these machines here. You might wonder, why on earth are there 2 of these machines here and 3 of the machines here? Well, every single day everything moves, and the date is down here, by the way, so every single day that moves. Now this machine here takes 2 days to process, and the lesser machines, the ones that only decrease by 3 or 1, generally take 1 day to use. You see that it says processing time. That there is the amount of time it takes to process. So in order to be able to make it more efficient, you need to put 2 down and feed in your lines into both of them. And it becomes a bit of a mess later on. So I have 2 there, 1 then because processing time 1, 2 here because processing time is 2, and then it just leads all the way down to here into these here, which is 3 of them, because processing time is 3. Now this is what I required in order to be able to actually upgrade that there, a chromatograph. And a chromatograph, which is concentrations between 1 and 10 and makes them 11 to 20, and the reverse, as you can see there under the description. And what that there did, or does rather, is it actually changed my hypothermidism into fights cancer. Right there, see? Now, when faced with fights cancer, I was faced with this thing over here, which is the fact that I need one of the yellow symbols. So what I did, firstly, was I made everything go down, because I need... Why did I make everything... I made everything go down because I needed a slot. That was it. So on a drug, there are 4 slots. 1, 2, 3, 4. And my antidepressant drug here has the yellow symbol, which is what I need on there as requirements. I'm going to merge the 2 together. But it's on the 3rd option there. So my choices are either move this or make a gap on my fight cancer drug and move that. So I basically, because it's on the 2nd slot, I basically got rid of this. And in order to get rid of there, and you have a concentration 1 to 5 and you use an anechometer. So my concentration was 12, it became 9 through this, became 6 through this, became 5 through that, and 5 is actually the lowest requirement. Use the anechometer, and I now have a gap there. That's the research complete from that previous thing I showed you just, by the way. Look out there, as it tells you what it actually does. Okay, so we now have a gap here, and I now have 2 mixers here. Now this is the reason why I think this game is more of a puzzle, not a strategy, by the way. And more sort of a management game, more than, yeah, not really so much of a puzzle, but more of a management puzzle game. Because in order to be able to get these 2 properly to work, the only way I've found is to import one of my ingredients from 2 different sockets. Because lines keep on matching over. I don't know why you can't just build a bridge over the line, or use, for example, these paints here. Why can't you use these paints here and just, let's say, stick down a 4-way and paint this one blue and this one blue and have it go straight past? Why can't I just do that? It would be so much easier. But I think it's meant to be this way. I think these mixers here are meant to be this annoying, and all the other machines. Most of the other machines I've sort of figured out ways of slotting them together to save space. Because as you see in the end, I run out of space in this area quite quickly. Either way, goes in the mixer, and I'll go to this over here. It basically just, that's one play on me yet, so it basically just takes all this and sticks that yellow one into there for my results to be here. This is my result. Now, we've met the requirements of having the yellow, we now need to be 19 and 20. So what I decided to do here is decide to make my concentration 10. And then, let's see that, so it becomes 9, then 10, and then double it in this thing. Now it's doubled, I meet the requirements to upgrade this, I need a sequencer. Sequencer takes 3 days, there are 3 sequencers here. So that basically upgrades fights cancer into multiple sclerosis. And then, need to use, in order to be able to upgrade multiple sclerosis, I need to use a Hadron Collider, but I also need a gap. I need somewhere on here. So I remove the end slot, so over here, using an ultraviolet cure it because my concentration is 1 to 20. 20 seems to be the limit, by the way, on these concentrations, just as a note. Well, at least as high as I've ever seen it go. Right, so I used the ultraviolet cure. As you can see here, it takes 3 days, so there's 3 of them. Makes me a little gap down here. Now, my drug that I want to merge in with it over here has this symbol over here, which is the symbol that I need. Where are we? Which is the symbol that I need, but it's on the top slot. So I basically have to mix up and shake up this entire drug using a shaker. I move up the empty slot to the top, and the exported result is perfect for merging with this. So now it merges with that. I get the pink thing on there, and then what I do is I take it through this thing here, this glucometer, and then through this dissolver. Now, why do I do that? Got to admit, I'm not quite sure why I did that. Why do I do that? I know why. It's because I'm trying to upgrade this. Okay, sorry, a little bit complicated, even for me at this point. So, now I've got this pink thing on here. I was trying to upgrade it. So I upgrade it by increasing the condensity by 3 into here. So it goes from 1 to 4. I increase it by an extra 1 using this thing over here, an evaporator, and then it meets the requirements. So then it needs to go into a Hadron Collider. Well, the Hadron Collider takes 4 days to make, but as you can see, I can't really fit 4 comfortably in this area. I've run out of space, completely, totally and utterly. There's nowhere I can go. And this is the one reason why this here stopped working, was because I basically ran out of space about here when I couldn't do anything. So I can't make this entirely efficient. So as you see here, there's generally a gap of 2 here, 1 or 2 here, because of the fact that I couldn't make it perfect right there. But it goes into Hadron Collider and then cures as a cancer vaccine. I then decided to make it into a cream, which is over here, which then reduces the negative effects by 50, because the Hadron Collider here, what it does is it makes all drugs super reactive. So Collider's drugs act as though they are all concentrating simultaneously. All effects are active and concentration components or all reactions are satisfied. So it basically means that this drug, yes, it cures cancer, it's also carcinogenic, causes headaches, and has permanent paralysis. Yeah. So I decided to put it through a creamer, because that one there reduces 50% of the effects of all these lot here, but that's basically all I could do. I couldn't do much more. I've got no more room. It's literally pressed up against the goddamn wall. So, not only am I producing this drug not every single day, there's a gap usually of 1 between every 2 of these, you notice? There's a gap there and then it's 2 coming out, but it's, does all this stuff here. I can't get rid of it because I haven't got the space. So I've called it At Least You Don't Have Cancer, because you're going to get permanent paralysis from this. It's not very easy to be able to do this, and this is the reason why. This game here is managing the space. This here is one of the most complicated cures in the entire thing. The other complicated ones to cure Alzheimer's and HIV, and that's it, I think, actually. Yeah, those 3 here are the hardest ones in the entire thing. And you run out of space before you get to the end. And the entire game is about that, by the way, because on the missions, if I just leave here, and during one of these missions over here, most of the game involves you with a quite small area trying to actually make something work, trying to get these cures to fit together in such a way so that you can actually get a result. So the game really is about trying to make a vaccine as high as possible for as cheap as possible to get as much profit as possible and to be as efficient as possible. But I wouldn't necessarily call that strategy, personally. I would call that more puzzle with management, because you end up spending more time fiddling around with how things fit together more than you do fiddling around with the amounts of money you're spending, because it's usually pretty obvious which ones you go for. So you wouldn't really call anything where you slot things together in a particular way to be a strategy game. You call that more of a puzzle game, and then there's management elements tacked on top of it. So I basically explained to you next to all of the mechanics, to be fair. If I hop out of this and load up that other game previously, by the way, and just show you basically all of the different machines and things. Basically, you have the ability to increase and decrease the concentration by 1, 3, or double and halve it. Got down here, which is it's not too bad, to be perfectly honest with you. Generally, though, you're best off using the small machines because they tend to slot together quite well. If you notice right here, it's quite an efficient design. You then have these here, which all mess around with the concentration, the advanced version of these. And then you have your mixers, your packers, and your analyzers, and your centrifuge, which all do things to do with like mixing ingredients together and sticking them in boxes towards the end. Because you know I mentioned before that the mixer uses all these ports over down here. You can actually merge together the outbound line into just boxes, and then any box can go on that line and be exported to the same port. But obviously it's not going to happen here. This warehouse is packed. I don't even know how these guys go for their lunch because he's just strapped in the middle there. Wouldn't move either way. You then can make them into pill, satchel, or syringe, or cream, and that they see have different sort of outputs from them all. But obviously, on there it takes 3 days processing time, as it says at the bottom there. So you can make them into all these different things here. So you have quite a nice option for how you want to get this stuff out of the warehouse. But you know, that's the way it goes. And this here is all cosmetic, by the way. Like I said before, I would like the ability to be able to colour just that segment in red and that segment in red, so I can just send stuff across the belt, especially down here where it's mainly empty. If I could just send stuff across the belt, I could actually make this work a little bit better, but I can't because of that reason. I just think I thought of an idea actually. Can I actually do that? Nope, I couldn't do that. Never mind, I thought what I could do is I could move this here, but I can't. Oh, I've made this design slightly more efficient here, I think. If I do that, I've made this design slightly more efficient. I now have 3 Hadron Colliders. Did not notice that before. But yeah, my complaints with the game are what I was playing just, having the different belts. Why can't I also import my own drug in through the ports? If I could import my own drug to different ports, I wouldn't need to do all this malarkey over here. I could just import my own drug in a different area and easily mix things together. You know, stuff like that. It's sort of like quality of life things, but I think they haven't done that because they want it to be a puzzle game. My only other complaint as well, is just the amount of clicking that you actually do. All the cures and the bloody research and all that stuff. Why couldn't I just have this as an optional window on over here? It seems like everything's huge and there's a lot of wasted space. I've got a bloody 24-inch monitor. I'm perfectly fine having things a little bit smaller so I can get more stuff on the screen, more useful information. I'd love to know up here how my research is doing. I have a little box up here. I'm researching my ingredients, for example. I know when you click on this here, it does this. Well, maybe then put it in the centre or down here somewhere. I don't mind if it's covered up whilst I'm looking at machines because I'm not really bothered then. It's sort of quality of life issues that I have issues with this game, to be honest with you. But it is fun. I would recommend it if you like what you see so far, and personally I think that this game is going to get better with more cures and possibly if you add more machines in there. And if they do that belt thing, I think that would make the game much more enjoyable because it would be much easier to do things. But it is very fun at the moment, to be honest with you. So this was Big Pharma, which is £19, $25 or €23 on Steam, and I would recommend it if you like what you see essentially. If you don't, you've just seen everything. You've just seen the most difficult vaccine, so you've seen everything. So I will catch you next time. Bye.